good to go.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm playing host today. Again, as always, Samantha's doing the background stuff, and she might be in and out as her family's working on getting moved into their new house that she's going to be sharing with her son and daughter-in-law and their family. So new journey for her. Lots of prayers on that. So with that, I'm going to let everybody else jump out because I'm here with Samantha, Catherine, Lori, and Jason, and let them introduce yourselves, and then we'll get started.
Lori Emmons in Denver. Beautiful day.
Sorry about that. Excuse me. This is Jason in Tampa Bay, Florida. Great to be here. Good to see everyone.
Good morning, everybody. This is Catherine Clement, and I think Samantha's busy, so I'm going to go ahead and start reading. We're reading chapter 7 of Whatever Arises, Love That, a Love Revolution That Begins With You by Matt Kahn. And I'll probably read the first 2 sections because they're kind of short.
Excuse me.
Chapter 7 title is, yes.
Catherine, you seem a little bit low on the volume. Can you turn up the volume a little?
How's that?
Oh, much better. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for letting me know. So we're going to start with chapter 7 of Whatever Arises, Love That. And it's called Mastering Relationships. Even after you realize that you are the entire universe playing in physical form with others doing the same, the play still continues. We're not here to end the play, but to transform it into higher vibrations of consciousness. As the play expands, it provides everyone greater permission to envision the greatest dream they were born to live out. As you give yourself the love that only you can provide, you begin to notice how the more profound levels of spiritual evolution occur through the mastering of relationships. This includes the relationship between the mind and heart, which is reflected through the bond of a parent and their inner child. Additionally, it includes the mastering of the relationship between self and subject through your perception of a world around you. When all of the interactions you have with your family, friends, or in your workplace become opportunities to serve our awakening humanity, a master of relationships has been found. No longer can you be satisfied by being enlightened in private and inflamed in public, knowing that every moment of conflict is an opportunity to discover the invaluable gifts that life provides. It can be understandably difficult to engage in conversations and try to come from the purest state of love when you are around people who are not necessarily rooted in a similar vibration. Those who are on different wavelengths of consciousness may not be interested in the things that appeal to you, or may be unwilling to give you the same amount of time that you are giving them. Perhaps they are unwilling or unable to give you the same level of patience you are offering them. Maybe they're not as interested in knowing your life as you are in knowing theirs. They may not even be interested in knowing the depths of the spiritual journey that you're so excited to discuss. When finding yourself in those types of situations, it can be difficult to consciously engage with others who operate from such a different standpoint. With love as your guide, you can be inspired to communicate in a way that brings your most treasured gifts to the surface, no longer waiting for others to be on the same spiritual page in order to show how much you care. At a subconscious level, the way others interact with you does not determine the quality of your experiences. Rather, the quality of your encounters is based on how freely you give or how much you withhold. This means your experience of discord with another is not actually based on what they seem to offer or take away from you, but what you are offering or withholding from them. As you are willing to give more love, not less, even in the presence of behavior that you might think does not necessarily deserve such a gift, you can choose to engage in the most spiritually relevant and noble way. When someone says words that may not feel good in your body, seem sarcastic in tone, and are meant to judge versus uplift you, this only offers you greater opportunities to raise the vibration of your response. By responding to anyone's criticism with love, compassion, and acceptance, you are stepping forward as a master of relationships to create your own experiences, which has nothing to do with how anyone treats you. In the most revolutionary way, you come to realize that your experience is only defined by how you respond to others, as powerful seeds are planted for their journey ahead. Should I continue? Okay. The healing power of a compliment. Even when meeting someone in their lowest moment of shame, desperation, or peril, you can always support that person's evolution and create a more enjoyable experience without negotiating with their inflamed personality. With love leading the way, you no longer require others to change in order to provide you with an uplifting experience, nor do you need to lower your vibration to match their energy until they evolve. This is precisely the invaluable insight I learned as Loving What Arises transformed each of my relationships and interactions. I realized that each of us is a carrier of a unique vibrational frequency that only we can bring to the world. The way in which we can transmit this energy is through the offering of a compliment. While complimenting can be misused in society and trivialized as a way of manipulating others to give you what you want, the spiritual purpose of a compliment acts as a selfless blessing of appreciation that reminds others of how much they are valued. Perhaps one of the most spiritually relevant practices is offering this type of genuine compliment to everyone you meet, even if you're interacting with someone whose beliefs or demeanor differs from yours. Even just by offering a brief moment of eye contact and a smile, you are transmitting your unique vibrational frequency to enhance their experience. Whomever you are meant to interact with in life is life's way of reminding you who is next in line to receive such a gift. Perhaps as compliments, attention, and support are offered, you become the one who tells others what they've been waiting so long to hear. From that space, you help to free another heart from a history of pain while providing a unique frequency of consciousness that no one else can transmit.
Okay, thank you. And so with that, so any thoughts or ideas that you guys want to bring out or that stood out to you guys? Sorry, I'm still kind of getting some of my thoughts together.
Well, I couldn't agree more that relationships is where the spiritual test really comes, you know? I mean, I think all of us could agree that if just left to our own devices and not having to interact with any other person on the planet, we'd probably live a much more peaceful existence, or at least many people would. So, so what do you got to say about that, Jason?
Yeah, that's for sure. It kind of tests ourselves. Relationships are something that can draw us off onto just different directions. And I mean, I really couldn't say it any better than what you just said. It's so profound. In the beginning of the chapter, I just love where it reminds us that the universe is that we are the universe. We are, or the universe is within us, and it's there to play out as we allow it to, through ourselves. Just wanted to bring that part out because that just means so much to me, that it's so impactful. Thank you.
I'm gonna, unless somebody else is trying to come out. Okay, I guess that was just weird background noise. I also like the beginning where it talks about, as you give yourself the love that only you can provide, and you begin to notice how the more profound levels of spiritual evolution occur through the mastering of relationships. And this includes relationships between the mind and heart, which is reflected through the bond of a parent and their inner child. I'm not going to go into details of what happened here on this. I spoke a little bit about it before we started live. But this last week, it has really come to light through a very tragic instance within my family that you sometimes are in a situation where you really need something from other people, but yet in that circumstances, they don't know how to give what you need because they themselves are going through their own circumstances surrounding the same similar incidents. And sometimes, as hurtful as it may feel, I'm realizing that I can't let that be how I respond or take it in as that, because once again, it's a perception and it's a view and a reality that is different for each one of us, even though we all know are affected by the same instant. And so therefore, how we feel and respond, I think we need to work first on what we need from ourselves to help us be able then to turn around and give that back out. So that way we don't let the hurt that you're originally feeling overtake the love that you want to give out and give in support and in truth, and to give back to help sustain them in such a way that makes them feel, or at least I guess maybe helps them to know how loved, how appreciated, how they are in this really, right now for my family, to start time and place. So in that sense, this chapter is kind of helpful in helping me to realize that I've got to, look at where I'm at and not react and respond back out of hurt, because I am hurt because of how some aspects of things that are going on, but I know it's not in that vein. So that's just part of what my thought process is and how it's helping me look at it a little differently right now.
I want to thank Catherine and Jason for saying hi. And Jason, I'm not sure what GM stands for, but I was thinking it was Grandma. You better not call me Grandma. Anyway, you can call me Grandma. What was playing in my mind as Catherine was reading this is a situation that happened, I guess, at the dinner table maybe last night. There were four of us sitting around. Two people had kind of set themselves up as a couple over the last several weeks, and it's a little kind of a little strange. She had come from the same place that I had come from, and she was interacting with someone different there, and several of us thought it was interesting that she had found someone here. But last night, for whatever reason, she was really irritable towards him and got to where she called him an unflattering name a couple of times. And he was taken aback, not sure what to do, and finally apologized to her. And then when she just got up and left, he apologized to me, and I said, you know, there's nothing to apologize to me for. I'm not offended. And the fourth person at the table was someone who's generally quiet, often sits by himself, and he didn't remark about the situation at all, but I couldn't help but think or wonder what he was thinking. And I know just the fact that I didn't get caught up in it myself and get offended, I'm sure has a lot to do with the books that we read here. And this in particular, this is a genius name when you think about it. Whatever arises, love that. Because we never know what's going to arise. You know, especially in a situation like that, you leave your room where you're, you know, perfect in your own realm, and you go and get together with other people, and you're surprised by how they're seeing things. And I didn't have it consciously in my mind to love that. I just tend to find myself more as an observer than I used to. In other words, I used to get all caught up in things and react and feel whatever it was that I was feeling was kind of the big issue in my life. And it helps a lot to realize you're not really necessarily apart, even in that closest situation. I hope I'm making a little bit of sense, but if I'm not, then it's probably because I'm a grandma.
Well, Grandma, it stands for good morning, which I think Dan wrote in the comments for you. Dan, I'm really glad to hear you say what you said earlier, because, you know, when something tragic happens, it does hit everybody differently, and it does bring up shit for us, right? It just brings up shit. and especially the relationships between family members that maybe have been stellar, maybe have not been stellar, but when you throw a tragedy in there, it can go either way. Even if things were great amongst the family, sometimes a tragedy can cause the worst to come out in everybody. And then if things aren't completely great to begin with, it can be even more challenging. But to take that step back, like Karen said, as the observer, if you can, I know it's challenging, but if you can, and just trying not to try to stay not I don't want to say stay focused on the tragedy, but I think you'll get what I mean. Try to stay focused on the situation, not everything for the rest of your life that is now seems to be coming up because of it. You know what I mean? So I really love what you said earlier about you'll try not to take it personally. That is so important, to not take it personally, because people are just acting out of pain at this moment, and they're not, oftentimes we will run our actions or our words through. Some people do. Some people say whatever they want, regardless of its effect on others. But a lot of people kind of run it through their head a little bit. Should I really say this? Should I really say that? Maybe that'll hurt their feelings. But when they're under the duress of a tragedy, all of that kind of goes by the wayside. And so things just come out, and they're not meant in the way that we take them sometimes. I really loved that this chapter brought up compliments of all things, because I have a horrible time with compliments. I have a horrible time accepting compliments. Like, it's something that I work on every day because people give me compliments, and I always just I don't know, compliments were used by several people in my life as a way to manipulate me. And so I immediately, when someone compliments me, I almost immediately think, you know, okay, what's the real deal? What are they trying to get out of me, or whatever? And because I dislike, this is the important part, because I dislike compliments so much, I don't give compliments um, like I should. There's times when I even think in my head, oh, I should compliment them on that. And then that next thought comes in, oh, but then they'll think I'm just trying to manipulate them. So it's really screwed up in my head, this thing around compliments. And what it does, the result of that is I withhold love. I withhold love from other people, and I withhold love from myself. And so that's huge. And I love that he brought that up in this chapter.
Interesting that you say that, because I'm kind of in some ways the opposite. I'm not great at taking compliments. I tend to kind of make them less than they are when somebody does give me one. Sometimes I just say thank you and kind of move past it. But a lot of times, for me, I do give compliments to other people, but I think that's because deep down I want and need it because of my childhood and some of the things that came out of that. But it's, in a way, kind of, like you said, it's kind of like a form of manipulation, because I'm in some way still trying to get some validation. And that goes back to why I said what I said earlier about, because of the dark tragedy that happened in my family, that I'm trying not to let my thoughts cloud and get in the way of that, of what I want and need from my family. Because, right, like I said, going back to what you said, I'm trying to look at it more for what has happened, what they may be going through, and how they may be responding. And right now, like you said, they're probably not responding from their true self. They're more responding from their pain and their hurt and their issues. And so therefore, I need to be kind of like Karen was, kind of look at it and be that observer and step outside of it and try and look at it from that. So then that way I don't try to now force or put what I need in a response from them, because in this time and place, I kind of need it, but thinking more back, what do they need and how do I need to respond to them and what can I give them that will let them know how much I love them, how much I want to support them, how much I'm here and willing to do whatever I can to help them and love them through this. And sometimes in those situations, I think we don't know what we really want or need. We're just trying to get through it and get to a point where maybe we can get to where we are able to push forward and maybe then go circle around and go back and respond to it and get ourselves back in line to where we want to be. So I think that's what I'm trying to carry as my focus. And it's hard because my myself, what I really want and what I really need are keep her in its ugly head sometimes. And I kind of have to keep telling myself, no, right now, I don't want to go there. So I think that based on what you all are saying, it's helping me kind of reframe it and hopefully deal with it as best I can going forward and keep in line, and same thing for other people for whatever others go through when they're going through something, I might be able to better respond even then when I'm not really even really affected, but how I can still show love and empathy and support for somebody, even just for lack of a better term, an off the cuff way too, and how I can maybe give out love and generally just to put out there in the world to help bring that forth even more so out in the world because the world needs more of it.
That's great, Dan. And that is, that's profound there, and I think that's, at least what I'm trying to learn to do is to be able to have that more of a reactionary response, but it takes training, it takes diving into these subject matters and really recognizing that we have the ability to, like what Karen said, be removed to be the observer and not be affected. Be mindful of our own energies and our own vibrations, and like the book is saying, understanding that other people are, I want to say possibly, but probably most likely not on the same energy level that we are on at the moment. When we come together in a group like this, it's pretty clear to me that we're all at least trying to be on the same page, same vibrational, emotional energy state. But when we're out there in our normal environments, that's usually not always the case. So I love this chapter and how it's kind of addressing that. And in the beginning of the chapter, I love where it makes the distinction here, and it's kind of vague. Gosh, the print in this book is really small. My eyes are just going, I guess. But it says in the second paragraph, page 125, second paragraph of the chapter, it goes into saying that this includes the relationships between the mind and the heart, which would be internal to us, which is reflected through the bond of like the parent and the inner child. But additionally, and that's the point I wanted to draw attention to, additionally, it includes the mastering of the relationship between self and subject through our perceptions of the world around us. And I think what he's alluding to is that our self and the subjects that come up in our environment and how we, that the relationship that we have in that interaction at the moment. And I'm hoping, at least from training and learning this stuff and incorporating it into my being, that I can have those better reactions so that I am able to make the most of these opportunities that it's speaking of. I'll go
Yes,
on
that
to say,
relation.
go ahead. I'm fine. Please, I want to hear.
That's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because for me, it goes both ways. If there's an opportunity for an interaction, even if it's just walking by someone and I see that maybe they want to make eye contact and just say hi as they walk by, and I refrain from doing that, like what you say, I withhold the love or withhold the compliment or the smile, the eye contact. That can affect me, like, gosh, I just missed an opportunity to connect, even if it's just briefly passing, And it's funny how that can affect my emotional state and my energy levels. So anyway.
And that points to the last paragraph on page 126, which is, at a subconscious level, the way others interact with you does not determine the quality of your experiences. That sentence right there is profound, and it's so true. Rather, the quality of your encounters is based, sorry, I moved my mic. Rather, the quality of your encounters is based on how freely you give or how much you withhold. This means your experience of discord with another is not actually based on what they seem to offer or take away from you, but what you are offering or withholding from them. And I think that is just such a huge, truthful paragraph there, because I'm sure that all of us have had experiences where somehow we managed to pull it off and like not act a fool. And like we wanted to respond in one way, but we kind of held our shit together and like responded in a good way, and then we felt so much better. Like it could have gone so much worse if we had responded a different way or just hadn't been more mindful in the situation. And sometimes I mean, we're human. This is life, and shit goes wrong, you guys. It just does. And there's those are instances that we grow from, because those situations help us realize things that we want in our lives, things that we don't want. It guides us. But how we respond in that moment, regardless of how the other person is responding, because it's really easy to just drop down into that pain and just let it all go, at maybe the worst of times. And because you never know what somebody else is going through, right? So I think if we can like I said, I know we've all had those moments where we've experienced that, the experience of actually being mindful in a situation and having even a very painful situation play out in a healthy way, as opposed to adding more tragedy to it. And we have to remember that we're all connected. There is a collective unconsciousness out there. That's how people refer to it. It's really the collective consciousness, but people refer to it as the collective unconsciousness because it seems like so many people are unconscious about their lives. But we are connected energetically, and sometimes when you see things in the news on media, certain tragic situations can come out in the media, and it causes a vibration to run across that collective. And some people are more sensitive and they pick up on that, and more tragedies can follow. I know you felt that, Dan, because I just got confirmation on that. So I'm trying to be careful with my words here, but it is not uncommon for series of tragedies to happen because of the collective consciousness. And so we also, looking at it not just as an observer, trying to remove, our personal history from this situation or whatever, but we also have to remember we're connected energetically, and those vibrations, if we can pick up on those vibrations as well. And that's why it's so important to learn how to change our vibration, because you can, when there's a low vibration, it's really easy to pick up on and drop down to. And so just reading these books that we're reading, learning these techniques that we are learning and we try to teach and share, they're so important to raise your vibration. I know it sounds so wooey and like out there and just silly and stupid sometimes, but it's not, because as this little part of this book so points out, it is not the way others interact with you that determine the quality of your experience. It is the way you interact with you and with other people. And it's not to say that you push away all the emotions associated with something, because those emotions are important or they wouldn't come up. So you do have to deal with that, but sometimes you have to set aside time to deal with that. It's kind of like I remember discussing a few weeks ago where we were talking about, if you're somebody that tends to worry, you need to set aside a time in your day, 15 minutes or whatever. That's your worry time. And you kind of need to do that with emotion sometimes too, because there are things you have to deal with, and you can't be emotional while you're dealing with them, but you can't not deal with those emotions at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with what you were just saying about kind of setting times or setting aside, because I've still had to, going through this, I've still had to work on living my life. I have other things going on. I still have my car that's still not fixed. I'm still dealing with that. So that's another stress on top of the stress of what I'm going through and stuff. I've had to kind of, and I'm going to say, for lack of a better way of saying, I've had to kind of compartmentalize my time and my ability and my emotions, and kind of keep myself in check, so that way I can still function, go out, do what I need to do to, take care of what my responsibilities of, like paying my bills, doing this, doing that, when really all I want to do is just kind of, wrap myself up with my family and just kind of, tell the whole world go away and F off and leave us alone. But in that sense, my family does not necessarily fully respond that way. And because I am, my brother's brother and I am my nephew's uncle, and, there's that sense of difference. And so therefore, even having to look at it that they have to do what they need to do for them as their own family, even though I'm a part of the family, but I'm not directly in that family, whereas my brother, his wife, his son, their future daughter-in-law, and even their other kids that are just as affected by this. And so they are having to walk through and go through their steps and their processes of what they do for themselves and together as a family. So with that, those are things I have to kind of keep in mind too. And so, I kind of have been dealing with it in pockets, so to speak, walking through this, and dealt with, talking with one really close friend, and, when I found out Monday, and that was really helpful because I needed to process it and because I needed to have a release. So he was my release. I would have liked to have been more my family, but again, that's, I'm having to walk in a area I've never walked before. This is so new, so foreign, so different. So, and of course, nobody in my family has walked this before. So at that same point, it's so and I don't want to say alienating, but it's so inferior to normal everyday life and feelings. It does kind of come in waves and pockets and ups and downs in a broader swing than even normal emotions. Like when my mom passed away last year, I had some raw and real emotions, but they, I think, are the part of that normal process of when somebody dies in a more natural, more way that you kind of expect. Maybe not when you expect it, but in the way you kind of expect. Whereas this was just sudden, harsh, dark, tragic. It just, I think it takes everybody for a loop, and I think it takes a long time to walk through it too. And I think we'll be walking through it for quite a while.
Grief is a pretty difficult thing, and I tend to want to interact with everyone I meet. I'm out on the trail on my scooter and I say hi to everybody, and I kind of get offended when they're in their own little world and they ignore you, they don't respond. But it's so important to make sure that your compliments are genuine. At the same time, I kind of hunger for compliments that I don't very often get, or I get ones that seem like, oh, that, no way, that can't be me. I discredit myself and don't feel like it's authentic. They're just trying to be nice or something. But then I have to turn around and think about how important I am and it makes a big difference. To be able to communicate with people and on an authentic level. You know, when I was working with my elementary students, it became so apparent. They can see right through it. Kids, oh, that's just a lame compliment. You're just trying to make me feel better or something. And it has to be authentic.
Yeah, I think we all can tend to see through when somebody gives a compliment and you know that it's not genuine. I think we all sense that and feel it. I think it's in the way the vibrations come across when we receive it and get it and hear it, and it kind of makes you feel, I can't explain the feeling, but just it's an odd feeling. You kind of just like, that's, didn't come across the way it should have. And at that point, it's almost like, well, if you didn't really mean it, don't say it and just move on. And that way you're not putting that energy out that kind of will ripple out through everything for till it dissipates. And and then I think also too, when a compliment is genuine, I think it kind of keeps going, and just keeps going and resonating. I think it circles, and it kind of circles around back and comes back in different forms as it travels, but it's still within that kind of basic true form of love that's being put out, that gets kind of circled around and just kind of keeps circling around in that energy field.
I agree with you. And we can definitely tell when anything isn't, or we can usually tell when anything isn't heartfelt, you know. We can usually sense it from people. Sometimes we miss it and then we beat ourselves up over it for missing it. But, there's nothing wrong with always trying to see the good in people. I think it's better to err on that side than to always be suspicious of people's intentions. And, comparison. Oh my gosh, comparison to me is just the root of all evil instead of money. I think comparison is, because we can take any good situation and completely ruin it by comparing it to something else. Imagine sitting down to eat something delicious, but you're comparing it to, something your grandmother made when you were a child, because you know how your memories as a child, everything was like so more delicious, and our memories are very kind, I think, sometimes, as much as they can go the opposite direction. And so I think when you start comparing uh, against other things, you can really take the joy out of a moment instead of just staying in the now and really appreciating what is in this very moment. And um, you unfortunately, as much as we would love to choose where love comes from, um, it's not always our choice. You know, we are loved, and God shows us that we're loved through our friends if our families aren't there for us. Um, Family or friends are the family that you make once you get here, and we as much as we would love for love or appreciation or dedication or anything to come from one specific person or a group of people, it just doesn't always play out that way. And we need to focus on the fact that we're receiving love and support, instead of trying to control where it comes from. And it's like that with anything, when we're trying to manifest things, we always want to be, we're such control freaks. Like we always want the money to come from this one certain place. Or like I have a bad habit of, I'll be thinking about something that I want, and then all of a sudden I'll think about, like, this thought will come in, but I don't want something bad to happen for that good thing to happen to me. You know what I mean? Like it's like this subtle distrust of where that money might come from that I'm asking for or something. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's we just can't control these things. We have to accept these blessings when they come to us and recognize them, instead of just always looking that one direction for expecting that one group or that one person to give us something that they're probably just not capable of giving, is what it comes down to.
That's exactly it with having expectations of people and things, and situations and outcomes, all of that. You have preconceived expectations that may or may not be met in the way that you are looking for or wanting. And a lot of it comes from childhood traumas and things that create triggers. And it's hard not to look for everyone else to fulfill that and meet your expectations that have developed either in a healthy way or not. And so between having expectations and experiences that you've had and presenting them in a way that is meaningful and helpful for everyone, protects yourself and helps other people at the same time. It's such a big job being a human.
Well, it's the top of the hour, and I know I need to get going because I've got some things I have to get done, and I need to finish taking care of the doggies where I'm house and dog sitting at from last night to today. So with that, we are in the book Whatever Rises. Love that. A Love Revolution That Begins With You by Matt Kahn. We'll continue on in chapter 7 with the next chapter or next section within the chapter called Turn It Into a Gift. Thanks again, Catherine, for reading. You always do such an awesome job on that. I thank you, everybody, for being here and being a part of the Saturday Morning Mastermind. We're on Facebook at mindsetmasterycollective.com. You can go there, join the group. If you want to be on the panel to help discuss the books, you can get a hold of any one of us and we can help you out. You can also just join the link that we have in the Facebook group to jump on. Also, we have our Mindset Mastery Collective YouTube channel where you can see copies of all the videos that we have from all the years that we've been doing this. We also have our website, mindsetmasterycollective.com, that you can go there and find information about us there. So with that, thank you for joining us for the Saturday Morning Mastermind, and we'll see you next week.